we are joined here by Timbers captain Diego Chara. We'll start with questions in the room. Who wants to start us off?
Recording in progress.
Start with Adam Sussman.
Diego, you've been part of coaching changes before. Obviously, everyone in this club's MLS history. How does this period in the middle of the season feel a little bit different for you and the group?
For sure. I think it's a weird situation, you know, sometimes to change coaches in the middle of the season. But I think Martí is coming with great energy, great attitude. And now we are really open to hear what he's coming to ask for us as players, and just be ready to do it on the field.
Hi, Diego. Obviously, there's some coaches coming in, but also Liam Ridgewell no longer with the club. Just do you have anything that you'd like to say about your former coach, former teammate, former captain? Yeah,
you know, it's a sports. I think Liam, the last part with the team was great. You know, he helped us to get a good results in the last few games, and just wishing him all the best. You know, in this next part of his life.
Just in your career, like, how long does it take until you feel like you have a feel for a new coach? Is it like how important is like the first impression? Is it a couple weeks? Like how long until like you feel like you kind of are in that system, if you will?
I mean, every coach is different. We know that. I think from my point of view, it's just be open. You know, listen what he's going to say, and at the same time just adapt. You know, and just try to execute on the field what he's asking for.
All right, any more questions in English? We'll do Spanish after.
Diego, just how are you feeling? It feels like your importance has grown even more under Jack Cassie in this interim spell, and how do you feel that your talents still hold up to some of the best competition in the world like you faced in Club America a few days ago?
I feel great. I think Jack has the trust on me on the field. And I mean, I know my role on the team. I just try to help as much as possible on the field, the team. And in my opinion, I think the last few games has been outstanding for me, you know. And yeah, I feel really good.
Señor, ¿cómo está? Español. Chara, como te dijo en la pregunta en inglés, has tenido muchos entrenadores. ¿Y qué piensas ahora que ya trabajaste con Martí y también tu pensamiento de que Ridgewell se fue del equipo?
Sí, cada entrenador es diferente. Cada uno tiene su forma específica de ver el juego. Martí vino con puntos claves y claros en cómo nos puede ayudar para mejorar en nuestro juego. Y bueno, va a ser interesante. El primer día fue algo muy práctico. Lógicamente tenemos un partido en 2 días y bueno, tenemos que estar preparados para ello. Y hablando sobre Liam, sí, triste. Creo que Liam tuvo la posibilidad de demostrar muchas cosas en los últimos juegos que estuvo con nosotros. La verdad, muy agradecido con la ayuda que nos brindó. Y bueno, un poco triste por lo que tuve la posibilidad de compartir con él como jugador y también como entrenador.
He asked the same question in Spanish, so we won't translate that one back.
Yo primero, ya termino. Chara, el partido pasado contra América se pierde, ahora van contra otro equipo mexicano, Xolos. ¿Qué tan difícil va a ser este partido? ¿Va a ser igual de difícil que el pasado? Y también me gustaría saber si conoces a Mora de los Xolos, que es el mexicano que todo el mundo quiere.
Sí, a ver, todos los partidos son diferentes. El partido contra América fue un partido complicado, donde creo yo que en el primer tiempo tuvimos la posibilidad de sacar diferencia. Ya en el segundo tiempo, con algunos errores que cometimos, ellos fueron contundentes porque tienen jugadores muy buenos. Creo que hacer lo mismo con Tijuana. Va a ser similar, un partido intenso, donde el equipo que tome la posibilidad de crear opciones y concretarlas va a marcar la diferencia. Y bueno, sobre Mora no conozco mucho de él, más de lo que vimos en el Mundial, lo que sí ha visto también en algunos partidos. Sabemos de que es un jugador joven, interesante, con mucho talento, y bueno, yo creo que va a ser un buen partido.
This question is, last match's defeat compared to this upcoming game, how difficult or similar do you think it'll be against Tijuana? And are you familiar with Gilberto Mora, Mexico's next up-and-coming player? Chara says, all the games are different. Against America, it was very difficult, where in the first half we were able to make a difference, but in the second half they took advantage of some of our errors. Tijuana, in a sense, will be similar. It'll be intense. I think the team that takes advantage of their opportunities will ultimately be rewarded. On Mora, I don't know more than what we were able to see at the World Cup and some of his most recent games with the club, but we know he's a young and interesting player for Mexico.
Diego, ¿cómo estás? Buenos días.
Buen día.
Hablábamos hace un rato con el entrenador Cifuentes y nos dijo de que su modelo a jugar era básicamente tener la posesión del balón, ser protagonistas, ser un equipo muy físico, presionar a la salida del equipo contrario. Quisiera saber qué tan preparado está el equipo en lo físico y en lo mental para tener ese estilo de juego.
Sí, a ver, yo creo que en los últimos partidos mostramos cosas similares a lo que va a pedir Martí. Entonces, por ese lado, yo creo que el equipo está preparado para hacerlo. Ahorita va a ser solamente tomar en cuenta esos pequeños detalles que él va a implementar. Y nada, yo creo que tenemos un equipo talentoso y que está dispuesto a hacer lo que Martí quiere.
The question is, we spoke to Coach Cifuentes earlier. He explained that his coaching style is more based on possession, attacking football. How ready is the club to kind of implement this style of game? The response is, I think we've shown similar things over the last couple games of what Coach Cifuentes has already mentioned that he's going to bring to the club. For now, it's just kind of more focusing on the small details that he brings to us, and ultimately I think we have the talent that's willing to be able to perform this way.
Seguramente el eje central acá es el fútbol, pero quisiera saber qué mensaje le puedes dar a tus compatriotas colombianos que han sufrido una catástrofe terrible en los últimos días.
Sí, han sido 48 horas muy complicadas para el pueblo colombiano, la verdad muy triste por todo lo que está sucediendo. Y bueno, están en mis oraciones, pedirle a todas las personas que puedan apoyar en este momento, que ayuden a Colombia. Y bueno, nada, la verdad, orando y esperando que todas las cosas salgan bien.
Diego, what message do you have to the Colombian population that's kind of been going through a devastating situation right now? Diego says, it's been a complicated last 48 hours. It's a very, very sad thing that they're experiencing. They're in my prayers, and all I can ask is anybody that's able to support, to be able to provide that support. We'll keep them in our prayers. We'll keep them in our thoughts.
Okay, we'll take a question online from Aaron Heinzen. Aaron, go ahead.
Hey, Diego. Thoughts again, with everybody in Colombia with the earthquake.
Thank you.
Wanted to ask you in the Club America game and what you guys took from it. Thanks a lot.
It was a difficult game. What I said before, I think in the first half we played better in some moments of the game. And the second half, I think they take advantage in our mistakes. And going forward, I think against Tijuana is going to be really crucial for us not make those mistakes.